right, we're going to go 10.2, day 2, simplifying radicals with multiplication. So, step 1, I just say we multiply the numbers times the numbers and the radical part times the radical part. So when I mean numbers by numbers, I just mean these numbers that are not under a radical. So 3 times 2 is 6. Step 1, oh, I suppose I could write it. Multiply the numbers on the outside, or the outside times the outsides, let's say. So 2 times 3 is 6. And then multiply the radical times the radical. Now, oftentimes then radical times the radical. I don't actually multiply the numbers together. I just break them right up. So I'm going to bring that 6 down that I have, but I'm going to put everything under one radical. So there's my 7t, right? Now I know that, now I'm looking at this 14t. I'm going to break 14 up into 7 times 2. That's what it is, right? So instead of writing 14 under, I'm going to write 7 times 2. So I'm going to write 7 times 2. And then I have the t squared, which I'll write as t times t. And now remember the rule with simplifying radicals is anytime there's 2 together under a radical, 1 can come out. So I have 2 7s under, 1's going to come out. So I have 6 still from there, times 7. And then I have 2 t's together, so 1 can come out. And then I have a t left and a 2 left underneath the radical, but I can't do anything with them. So I'm just going to put them back together as 2t. We usually do write the number before the variable, remember? So I have 2t left under. Now I can clean up my outside by multiplying 6 times 7, which is 42. 42t square root 2t. So first step, multiply outsides together, then multiply the radical times the radical. Let's look at another one. So multiply the outside numbers together. Well, this is just a number 1, right? So it's 3 times 1, which is just 3. And again, I'm going to write this stuff underneath. So this 6 I'll write here. But I'm going to break 18 up right away. I know 18 is 6 times 3. So times 6 times 3. What's the rule? If there's 2 underneath a radical, 1 can come out. So if I look at this, hey, here I have 2 6's. So 1 comes out. I still have the 3 from here. And it's multiplication. It's not 36. It's not 3 plus 6. It's 3 times 6. So radical symbol, and what's left under is this 3 that was from there. So now clean up my outside. So 6 times 3 is 18, square root 3. It's as simplified as it can get. If you didn't do it that way, another way you could have done it, we could multiply the numbers together, and then we're going to have a big number, and then we'd have to simplify it from there. But sometimes kids will keep going, like they'll break that 6 up into 3 times 2 and the other 6 up into 3 times 2, which is fine. It's more steps. Once you see you have 2 of something exactly the same under a radical, I know one of those can come out, so I stop there. All right, another example. So no numbers in front of the radicals to multiply, so we just have to multiply what's underneath. Or in this case, I might actually simplify first. So I know, which I could have maybe done last time, but let's just write that 2a. That can't be changed at all. That's just square root of 2a. But this 9, I know that 9 is 3 times 3. And I know that a squared is a times a times a. So I could take out of this radical a 3 and also an a, and I would leave it with the square root of a. And then I still have this 2a. So now the outside times the outside, well this time, this is my outside, this is just a 1. So on the outside I have 3a, and then inside times inside, so I have my 2a here, and I still have my a from here. So now I'm just going to clean up that inside, and I get 3a on the outside still, square root, oh, sorry, look at that. Oh, let's see if I can get my eraser to work. Hey, what do we have on the inside now? So now, again, I have to look. I have a times a. I have 2 of them in, so 1 can come out. So I'm going to have 3a, and I'm bringing that second a out. And I have square root of 2 still. So this is 3a squared, square root of 2. Now I'm going to do it in a whole different way. So I'm going to erase this one. And I'm just going to start by putting it all under 1. So I have 2. I'm still going to break my 9 up into 3 times 3. Whoops, sorry. I better put my a in there. My 2a from the first radical. And then the 9 I'm going to break up into 3 times 3. And then a. Looking for pairs. There's 2 3s, 1 comes out. There's 2 a's, 1 comes out. Here's 2 more a's, it comes out. And what do I have left? Just the square root of 2 under. This would be 3a squared, square root of 2. So you can simplify under the radical before, or you can simplify under the radical after. It works the same either way. Sometimes it's more steps one way or the other. All right. Go ahead and put me on pause and you try this one, and then we'll walk through it together. All right, so hopefully we just looked at this, and here's numbers on the outside, right? 2 and negative 3, so that's negative 6. Draw my big radical. 5x from the first radical symbol. And then the 20, let's break up into, I know it's 5 times 4. And then we have x times x times x times x times x, x to the 5th. So I have everything under my radical. I'm looking for my pairs. I have a pair of 5s, so 1 comes out. I'm going to pull down that negative 6 from right there, and then times 5. And then I'm looking for pairs of 2 x's. There's 3 pairs of x's, so 3 x's come out. Square root of 4, I could have written that as 2 times 2, right? 2 times 2, so that is a pair of 2's. So a 2 can also come out. So what do I have under the radical? Nothing. We got rid of it all. So let's take a look. Now I have negative 6 times 5 times 2, or 2 times negative 6 times 5, either way. That is negative 60, because 5 times 2 is 10, times negative 6 is negative 60. And then x times x times x, which is x to the 3rd. So there is my answer. I have negative 60, x to the 3rd. All right, so this one says simplify, but there's a little order of operations things we have to think about. So I have this part in parentheses, which I had last time too, but nothing was, I don't think there was anything on the outside of the parentheses before. Nope. So this time you'll notice that this whole thing is squared. So it's the square root of 5b squared. Remember, we can write squared as just 2 versions of it. So I could write the square root of 5b times the square root of 5b, right? Or we could think of this as 3b times the square root of 5b times 5b. And 5b, I have 2 versions of 5b, so there's 2 underneath, so I can take out a 5b. I still have the 3b that I started with. So now I have 3 times b times 5 times b, so number times number is 15. B times b is b squared. 15b squared. So remember, squared just means something times itself, and square root means what times itself is something. So when you take this, when you square a square root, you're just going to get what's under the radical. That's what comes out, the same thing that's under the radical. All right, don't pay attention to this homework assignment. I'll tell you what you need to do in class tomorrow, and thanks for listening.